So, hey, this is Beatty Carmichael with Agent Dominator, and I'm here with a really top producing agent and someone that I've grown to become a really good personal friend with, and that's Stuart Sutton. So, Stuart, welcome to this call.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I look forward to discussing Agent Dominator.
Yeah. So, just a little bit of background. By the way, folks that are watching this is an internet recording, so maybe internet quality challenges as we go along. So, just bear with that. So, let me give you the background and why I wanted to talk with Stuart. Stuart, you're a new agent, aren't you?
Yeah, I just started about 34 years ago.
Yeah, about 34 years ago. Stuart is a Diamond Club member with REMAX, and Stuart, in order to achieve Diamond Club status, what does that mean?
Well, Diamond Club status is earnings of $1 million in commissions or more. So each year I'm either chairman or diamond. Chairman is 500,000 or more. So those are the two membership clubs that I'm in with REMAX.
Okay, cool. And the thing that impressed me so much when we first met is at that time you were doing, I remember specifically, you were doing 80 to 100 transactions a year. And I was asking you, well, how much time does it take to do that? I mean, because that just seems like a whole lot of time. And I'm talking to these other agents and they're doing 20 and 30 transactions and working 60 or 70 hours a week. And I remember you told me that you worked an average of about 35 hours a week. Sometimes if it was a busy week, it'd be 40 hours, that you rarely worked evenings and you never worked weekends. Is that true?
That is correct. As a matter of fact, in today's environment, we hear teams, 300 sales, 700 sales. That's not really a real estate agent. I'm not being derogative. I'm just saying a team, that's really a broker managing a team, managing agents. A real estate agent who manages their production on their own. I have one assistant, actually she's part-time, and a closer. So I literally don't even have a full-time employee. And the management of your productivity and the effectiveness of your marketing is what drives that. And I know it's some people really raise an eyebrow when they hear that, but yes, and my kids really have heard it all of their lives, that I believe so strongly in being productive, because most people, especially real estate agents, just aren't.
So those 80 to 100 transactions, that's you personally, that's not your team.
That's not my team. Now I do have a team, and the volume that my team does is, some of those big numbers, but those transactions are me personally. Now, since then, as you know, I've pared that down. I now do around 60 transactions, but here's the big but I make more money. So
Wow.
I've purposely reduced my transactions and increased my income.
I love it. I love it. So setting the stage, so you've been a client with us since 2013, actually late 2012, for quite a few years. And I guess the big question is, you got all this volume, you're doing great without us. Why are you doing business with us, and why are you still here?
Well, that's a good question. The reason is, let's go back to productivity. And if I can use a service like yours to increase my productivity and my income, then why wouldn't I? So my background is marketing. Actually, I was a cold caller for years, and then I became a marketer. Very blessed and fortunate to meet someone that really took me down the path of marketing. And I recognized everything that I get from companies wanting me to buy services, most of them don't know marketing. They may have pretty stuff, they may have a cool sounding service, but very few of them know marketing. When I got your very first postcard, Beatty, I knew this guy knows marketing. And that's why I literally picked up the phone and called that day I got that postcard. Because you understand marketing, you understand consumers, you understand consumer response. So what you guys have done is step in and take care of a bunch of the marketing that I had been doing on my own. Does that make sense?
That does. And I remember the numbers, but I'm hoping you do too. So we met in 2012, but it wasn't until January 2013
That's correct.
that we actually started working as vendor-client relationship.
That's correct.
Do you remember how much you earned that year directly from our services?
Oh, it was six figures.
Yeah. And then you recently, not recently, but a few
Now,
years back.
here's why I know that. Because if
Okay.
it wasn't six figures, I probably wouldn't have continued.
I love it. I love it. So now in that six figures, at that time, we were doing geographic farming for you, correct?
Yeah, well, you're doing geographic mailing.
Okay, that's right. There you go. Thank you. So perspective, because a lot of people maybe watching this don't really understand marketing or the impact of someone who understands it. Can you give me just some perspective in terms of just back then, not even what we're doing now, but just back then, for someone to start mailing into a geographic farm, what type of agent, I mean, how much would a typical agent earn in their first year? And I just want to get a perspective of what happened with us, with you, versus what a typical agent may have gotten on their own.
I see this happen all the time, Beatty, where a typical agent will try to take on a farm, and after a few months, because of the investment required and the lack of results, will drop it. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen that. So the very fact that I'm going to step back and give you an example. I still remember the day when I learned marketing and learned what it was all about. I didn't change who I sent, what I sent, how I sent. I changed the message. And my business increased dramatically from that. So I didn't spend any more money. I just made a lot more money from the money I spent. So my return, and I paid very close attention to my return. And that's what I did with your service is the return there? And if the message is average or poor, the return's not going to be very. If the message is average or poor, the return isn't going to be very good. If the message is very good, then the return's going to be very good. So I don't know if I answered your question, but the message that you guys use and the approach you use is a marketing message, not just a rote sold card that goes out the door with every agent in the U.S. It's actually a message that is meaningful, that is pertinent, and that compels a response. And that's what we're looking for.
I love it. So now I want to also kind of set the stage. You manage, because before we started working, you had a huge business from your personal clients already, and you still manage that marketing on your own to your personal contacts, right?
Correct.
Okay. So what we do with you and what we've done over the past has been more it's kind of a cold market, but in your perspective, do personal contacts in a cold market, do they make decisions the same way? In other words, kind of what I'm asking is the marketing pieces that we're using for you in a cold market as effective or more effective if they were to be used in a warm market? Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And I see where you're going with this, and it's absolutely a logical path to follow. If those messages are that effective in a cold market, they're going to be geometrically more effective in a warm market. And I tell my agents this all the time. You're sending a message to prospects you don't know. Your past clients who know you and trust you would love to know that same information. So you've got to market to them in the same way that you do a cold market, but with a little different spin, because it is a warm market and you do know them and they do know you. But I'm promoting the new level of service to, for example, my farm area that y'all help me with. Well, why wouldn't I promote my new level of service to my past clients and customers in order to increase the number of referrals I get from them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And in fact, that farm that we've been doing recently, I remember when you started there. So we're doing mailings for you. You're doing the best practices on the ground. Mm-hmm. And I think if I remember correctly, 1,000 home farm, you never marketed there. And in the first 7 months, you had 14 listing appointments out of that.
That's correct. That's correct. Good memory.
Yeah.
And that's because of the marketing message, not just a rote standard real estate card, but a marketing message that compels a response.
Yes. So I want to make kind of a correlation with that, because that was 1,000 homes of people who never met you. We started working with a client recently. He is now he just finished his 7th month. He's targeting 260 of his past clients and sphere of influence. And he's had 19 client engagements in that same period of time. And so just kind of the correlation of, is the message, he's doing the same thing on a third of almost a fourth of the number of records as what we did there in that geographic farm.
And that makes all the difference. Oh, I mean, that percentage is incredible. I mean, the difference between the responses on a warm database versus a cold database, I mean, as you said, was that 4 times as many as far as a percentage is concerned?
Yep.
That's phenomenal.
So tell me, just kind of wrapping up, I would just want to make this a kind of a short video, but if someone were to ask you, what do you like most about what we do with Agent Dominator, and honestly, what do you like least about it? Or if you could give some guidance, if someone's looking at us, what are the things that you would tell someone if they're on the phone with you and saying, hey, can you give me some guidance? Should I use them or not? You know us well enough, been around long enough with us. What would be that guidance?
The guidance would be go in aware that it's going to take investment and then it's going to take follow-up. The only agents I know that haven't had success with services like yours are the agents who don't do, and you said it earlier, I do the on the ground work. I do the follow-up. I make sure that the phone calls are made, the thank you notes are sent, the packages are delivered. So your job is to get that message out. My job is to follow up and do everything else. And you just getting the message out or the mailing out is going to be successful, but it's going to be dramatically more successful if I do my share as well. So that's critical.
Well, I appreciate that. And in wrapping up, is there anything else you would like to share about our experience together, things that you've identified, things that really stand out, anything that could help someone watching this video just to either have peace or to know maybe it's not the right fit.
Edit this out if you want to, but I actually have had your salespeople tell me you might not want to share all of that, because sometimes when I say, well, I got my first listing the first month we started mailing with this service, and they say, that's not common, so people expect that, and it can happen, absolutely, but it may not be the first month. But consistency is the absolute key. And the second thing that I've been the most impressed with is the fact that Agent Dominator is willing to adapt and test and try new things. In other words, it's not just the same road. This is the way we do it, so that's the way you're going to do it. If I have something that I think might adapt to my clients better, you guys are willing to improvise and adapt, and that makes a world of difference to me.
Well, I appreciate that, and Stuart, I appreciate your time. I know you're really busy, working less than 35 hours a week now, or only 60 transactions, making more money. It's a rough life, but I guess someone has to do it, right?
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.